you plan on taking the Meta Blueprint certification for either planning or buying. I salute you. Thank you so much for even just dedicating the time to take this course. It's not a fun course, but you'll come out so much stronger at the end. So I'm going to talk about my strategy I used from starting from studying all the way to mid part, all the way to the end. So the first thing I want to say is passing. Passing is about 700 points. I think it's about 1,000 points total. So right at 700, you pass. When I took the planning certification, after I took the buying, I took the planning, I got 689 and I was deemed failed. So I had to retake it. So it happens to all of us. And I will say this, I took the digital marketer exam when I was in accounts. When I went to buying, I took the buying certification, and then a few months later I took the planning, failed that, retook it, and then ever since then I've been certified in both, and I'm concurrent. So it's been an awesome experience. I will say this, when you once you take the buying, I think it's an awesome leverage to boost up your career, but I will say the program works best when you have planning and buying concurrent, and you've taken in your current in both certifications. That's when I noticed personally, me, that my career and the way I approached buying just went through the roof. It was life changing, and I have to say it's really led me to actually getting my own agency and having my own PPC clients, and really taking this awesome journey at YRV Dynamics, the agency that I founded, and I am a CEO. So I can't really say enough good things about it. And like I said, you could always tell a buyer when they're certified and when they're not. You really can. You see less errors, you see more recommendations, better insights. They're able just to work quickly, all sorts of stuff. Even just taking the buying, I really can tell a difference, and you should too. And it definitely, I've never seen it hurt anybody, that's for sure. So that's good. So the first strategy in all this is understand Ads Manager. How does Ads Manager work? How do the formulas work? How do the objectives work? How do you create the architecture for a winning campaign? That is the key, right? So it's literally impossible to take this test without Ads Manager experience. And I'm talking 6+ months to almost a year. You really got to know, like Ads Manager inside and out, kind of. So, and you really got to make sure how everything works, right? Do you know the difference between bid cap versus cop cap? Cost cap? Do you understand how Advantage Plus works? Do you understand how to upload an audience? All sorts of minutia stuff. And you only get that through experience, but you only get it after you're doing the first kind of like, I don't want to say the word assistant, but it is assistant work. You're just doing reporting, right? Or you're doing creative swaps, ad op swaps, etc. After you move from there, you actually go into the harder stuff, which is the campaign architecture. And that's where you decide, and you actually use your buying methodology, and you slowly develop that out, and you develop your own buying process, if you will, that you infuse with clients. But again, it's really understanding how Ads Manager works. You should have a good, solid understanding about that. You should know how to pull reporting. You should know just soup to nuts how it all works. The next thing I'll say is start early. So at least a month prior to the test, just take the practice test. Just take it. Don't do a thing. The first day you do, the first thing you should do is take it. Because what I love about the practice test, I'm not sure if you guys know this, on the Blueprint site, there's 2 practice tests. If you take either one, it'll actually say where where you need to improve. So if you need to improve on how lookalikes work, or how creative, what creative recommendations you should make, it'll actually say it. And then you can study that module. I recommend studying the module, but also just Googling or looking on YouTube. I noticed that for some reason, when it's explained on YouTube, it's just more common sense, if you will, and that people break it down a lot easier, because the Blueprint course, even it's a free course, and we all know how free works. It kind of talks around it a little. So you really got to understand, if you got something wrong, why did you get it wrong? Did you misread something? Did you not build the constructs out right? One one thing that I really that really throws a curveball on the Meta Blueprint is when you take the course, it'll actually give you the wrong. You can have multiple choice, and it'll give you the wrong answer because they kind of figured out. Okay, so if you go down this path, which is, let's call it path A, is wrong, and it leads to that answer, right? You'll constantly think it's that answer, and you'll go through all the equation and build out the process to answer it, and it's wrong. Whereas the second, like a plan or whatever, process B was the right answer all along. So when you retake this to practice, it gets a little confusing. So be aware of that. But you want to start off early, right? And you want to be aware where you want to solve really quick where your incompetencies are and drill on those. So by literally 2 weeks out, so now we're about 2 weeks out, you know exactly where where your strengths and your weaknesses are, and you've really done a lot to improve your weaknesses, and then you're ready to really just do good overall. It's better to over prepare. I dedicated roughly about an hour a day for 2 weeks before, maybe even 3 weeks. So if you really don't know what you're doing, do 4 weeks, do a month. I think the first time I did a month. But now before I take it, I start studying maybe about 2 weeks before, and then I'm able just to do it. But now, fortunately, unfortunately, I've done it so much that it kind of comes a little natural because of all that muscle memory and retaking the course and all sorts of stuff. And then doing these videos, I'm just very exposed to it. And then not to mention you're buying a lot anyways. So that's my recommendation in terms of dedication. For the practice tests, again, they are key. Again, do it every day. Also, too, when you take the test, you got to take it every day. So there's 2 different options, right? There's the buying test, 2 options, and there's a planning test, 2 options. So 2 different practice tests, I should say. So take one practice test on one day. Excuse me. Take one practice test on one day. The next day, so that's test A. Take test B the next day. Then test A, test B. So you're constantly at least not memorizing the questions as bad. Also, make sure you approach the questions, even though you just got exposed to them 2 days ago. Make sure you just go through them. Try and go through it as freshly as possible. Actually break down the math, break down the process in terms of laying out the equations and then the answer. So I know it's a little hard to do sometimes, especially when you've done this question 20 times, literally sometimes 20 times. But you really have to be objective when you read it each time, because you're trying to use that muscle memory in your mind to, again, lay out the equation. That's where people mess up, because you have to lay it out. It's like algebra kind of, right? So you have to, and then once you lay it out, that's probably the hardest part, because then you could just calculate it away. So the layout part's the hardest, and you always have to approach it each day new, and then the muscle memory will come in. Let's see here. And then buying and planning. Okay, so with this one, I would say after you take the buying, I would say within 2 months, take the planning. And again, like we were talking about, right? There's the associate, which is the baby buying one. Then you have buying, and then you have planning, which is like definitely the harder test, and that's full of word problems. That's what's even weaker about the whole thing. But when you take the planning, take it as quickly as possible. I'm not saying you have to take it in 1 month, but maybe within 2 to 3 months, maybe even at the most 4 months, because it's a lot of the planning is buying related. It is equation related. It is like understanding that vocabulary and where you are an ads manager and how to even use ads manager to answer that question. So it is better if you taken the buying recently to take the planning. If you take the buying and then if you take the buying and pass that, and then you take the planning 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, you see what I'm talking about? That you lose that. It's really weak, because some of those questions are literally almost the same questions on the planning. So you just kind of lose that. Especially, and it really depends how long you want to stay in the industry. If you're like me and you want to build an ad agency and you want to build a whole business around it, it's best just to take your best foot forward. These issues are not going to go away overnight. So you have to, take it quickly. That's definitely my top recommendation. And that's really it for this segment. I just want to talk about some steps that I did that helped me pass the Meta Blueprint. What I want to do is also say I'm on Medium. I highly suggest that you guys check that out. There's some really compelling content on there that I've developed. Also, in terms of how I even have a Medium article that says how to pass Meta Blueprint on one try, which is a lot of these techniques. So I definitely challenge you to definitely check that out, as well as other PPC articles, and also even Google tips and tricks. That's actually a really popular article. And then I actually take this vlog and I put it on the on all these different podcast platforms. So please check it out if you'd like. And then, of course, I'm accessible on LinkedIn if you have any questions, as well as the YRV Dynamics site. So I'm easily accessible if anybody has any questions or needs to talk, or even wants me to kind of do a mastermind. There'll probably be one coming up this year. I did one last year, about 17 people showed. It was a few people. So later this year, I'll probably schedule another one, or I may do one through Upwork as well. So anyways, but thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. And again, thank you, and I congratulate you for even wanting to even look at this video to get some really good study techniques down for this test. So I congratulate you. Have a great week.